Today's guest is Robert Farris, also known as Bobby around the office, the financial planning genius, and official popcorn expert. Bobby is based out of the Nampa headquarters office and currently sports Valley Agronomics as the manager of financial planning and analysis. While his focus today is on the Valley Ag side, his 6+ years with the cooperative have included time across all 3 divisions, including energy and retail, along with a brief step away before ultimately finding his way back. That journey gives him the unique, well-rounded perspective on the organization. And if you don't catch him at the office, there's a decent chance you might run into him at Costco. Welcome, Bobby. Welcome, Bobby, to joining us on the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come sit with us and kind of just get to know you and kind of go through what you do for us. So, welcome.
Yeah, good to be with you today.
We'll just start off with like getting to know you a little bit. So, like outside of work, what's some of the stuff that you like to do?
Well, I've been married 32 years this year, so really like spending time with my wife. What I personally like to do is I'm a big history fan and buff. Grew up in Virginia, so anything to do with U.S. history, Civil War, even Revolutionary War, I'm big into that. Most people might not know that there's over 100 Civil War sites in Virginia. So when I lived there, I was out on those sites all the time. I have 3 kids, so I remember kind of dragging them out there, as young kids, and they always liked it a lot. But I like to read about history. I have a mind that's like naturally inquisitive. I like mystery stories. So with history, there is a lot of mystery kind of wrapped into that. So it kind of puts the best of both worlds together for me. So that's a big one for me. Also like to travel, with my wife. Coming out to the West, we've been out to the Grand Canyon, Mount Zion, out to the Oregon coast. So we try to get around and see like parts of the Oregon Trail, things like that. So definitely getting out with her is a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't been to Virginia yet, but that's one place I would like to go just because there's so much history there.
It's a beautiful state and so much history.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. I'm a big fan kind of it too. I like a lot of those kind of war stories and movies. You can kind of see like my grandpa back in different wars and stuff like that. Like he's kind of giving me some of that history. Just knowing some of the war history too is interesting to me. Like I like that stuff too. So it's pretty cool.
My wife will tease me a lot of times and say, "Hey, you could kind of be a tour guide on some of these battles," and she's probably right. I've been to Gettysburg probably 7 or 8 times. And for a lot of people, that's like a once in a lifetime. And that's probably the coolest battlefield on the East Coast in Pennsylvania. But every time you get up there, it's just so much fun. And, you can kind of feel the history up there. It's like very alive. So it's cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Hopefully I could get there sometime.
Yeah.
And then I could come back and compare notes make sure I didn't miss anything.
That's right. I'll quiz you.
Well, that's awesome. One thing that maybe not everybody knows about you is you're the popcorn guru around here, right? Yes. Like Popcorn Bobby. That says it right above the popcorn machine in the break room.
I did not write that up there, so somebody else wrote that. So I guess maybe it's true.
It must be true if it's written down, right?
I think I know who wrote that, but I won't say who it was. But I have had even Brad Locke has come to me one time when the board was meeting and said, "Hey, we need some salty. Can you do some popcorn?" Yes, sir. 3 or 4 minutes later, they're ready to go.
Yeah, I believe it. You always make some great popcorn. It's not burnt.
No, that's the key. The key is don't burn it. I mean, you could take something that's so great when it's just right and make it terrible by overcooking by even 30 seconds. So you got to be very specific.
Yeah, there's an art to it. Well, we'll kind of get into a little bit about your job and kind of go through some of your I wouldn't say daily tasks, but some of your tasks that you kind of deal with in the financial world. So
Yeah, I mean, I often get asked about that title, FP&A manager. What does that mean? I kind of break it down two ways in my mind. The financial planning, like every business has to have a plan. Where are you trying to go? What are your goals for the company? Our goal is to grow a lot, get into different regions. So, that budget process, we're getting ready to start the budget process right now. A lot of guys are actually mad at me I'm sending the email out. I had one guy today that wrote me back, boo. The email was boo. So I was like, yeah, I kind of agree with you, but that plan that you have to convert that over to numbers. And that's what we do. And then the analysis part of the FP&A is how are we performing against those plans? Are we doing better? Are we doing worse? We look at everything from margins to sales to, OPEX, which is salaries and fuel and all that stuff. And we're really measuring all those different lines. How are they performing? Are there things we can do to kind of mitigate things that are maybe going wrong or try to add to things that are going right? Some of the reports that we have in Power BI, we're looking at daily, managers are using those out in the field to make, sell decisions. What do I price the product at? So, I'm looking at all that stuff like all the time. So really try to work hand in hand with the location level and all the way up to get them the best information on all those different dollar amounts. And that goes all the way up to the board. We have board meetings every month. And Brad has been really good to kind of bring us in on that. We're preparing a lot of those board decks. So I've got a lot more familiar with the company over the 6 years or so. I kind of started in the GL accounting side of the house and then have kind of migrated over to more of this FP&A. And I've done some of that in the past, but I really enjoyed it here the most just because of the nature, of our company. So it's pretty cool. I've never interacted with the board as much as I do here. And they're really good people. And they really appreciate what we do. They'll stop by my office every now and then. It's kind of wild because most places I've worked, most of the board guys wouldn't even know my name. And the guys here, they'll stop by and thank you. Like, hey, we really appreciate what you're doing. And you can tell they mean it. So
yeah,
it's kind of cool.
It is really cool that they're very personal people.
Yep, and very big time.
It's a pretty cool board.
Big time. So, they're salt of the earth. They're out there farming. It's easy to work hard for those guys. I tell Brad that a lot, and Rodney too, my boss Rodney. Like these farmers and this company is easy to work for and work hard because of who we're working for, how appreciative they are and just the kind of people they are. It kind of, not that you don't have days that you're tired, but most days I'm pretty excited to get in here and kind of get at it, so. Yeah,
that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So you've actually had the unique experience to kind of work for all three divisions, energy, retail, and now ag.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's helped you a lot.
Oh yeah.
Learn the company, learn different things, learn how energy does something versus ag versus retail.
That's right.
And maybe see, okay, well, my past experience, maybe this is the best setup or this is the best way to do this.
Yeah, it's really cool, being in the GL and doing all those entries like payroll and, taxes and all that stuff on all sides has really kind of given me like a look into how everything's operating. When you're researching some of these variances, I kind of know where to look, the questions to ask, stuff like that. You can also help people a lot. The FP&A group, there's 3 of us in the group. Dave Orton supports the energy guys. Isaac Mesmer is with the retail, and then I'm VA. But we all kind of work together, help each other, especially like during the budget or busy times, and we just have each other's back. And so to be able to understand like all 3 of those businesses, Dave is the newest one in our group, and it's an honor to kind of get him up to speed and help him grow and learn stuff. And, I kind of like being that guy that people do come to me a lot and say, hey, what about this? How do I find that? And I feel like a lot of times I can help them, and that's super gratifying. Something I really enjoy. I like the teamwork. We have a very collaborative environment here. I'd say from the highest level down, honestly. And, we talked before, like that's really something that we got to guard like very closely. I've talked with Brad about that too. And I know he feels the same. And, we've got to keep that culture as we get bigger because we're going to get bigger. But how do we stay where we really take care of each other, the customer, but each other as well? Because I truly believe when we take care of each other, the customer is going to see that all the time. So
when everybody enjoys their job a lot more, right? If
when
you
you're happy,
work as a team or even, realistically kind of like a family,
Yeah.
right? Like,
yeah, when you're happy and content and work together, like the customer is going to see that, and I think we have an advantage over some of the other companies. I know people that work for other even ag companies, and they don't have the same feel that we have.
right.
I could tell you.
Yeah, I think that's something that's unique to the cooperative experience as a
Big
whole,
time.
right? Like, at least from my perspective and my history versus where I'm at now, it definitely feels that way. You feel like you're part of a community.
Yeah. I've worked for some really big public companies, and it's a night and day feel to what we're doing. I felt valued in that from like my boss, but the ownership structure is just so different here. The patronage that we give back to the customers based on what they purchase, and just the way we take care of each other is very different than some of these other companies that I work for. Like super noticeable. It just makes me really happy and kind of excited to be here. I think the people that we have and just what we're doing is very motivating to me personally.
Yeah, I definitely can see that, and from my perspective too, I think the same thing. So it's really cool to work for.
It's easy to help people, and you see that everywhere. Like I remember talking to it was an executive level person that came in, and he was like, "Man, I can't believe how much people will help you here. Like they're willing to help you right away." Like he wasn't used to that. He's like, "Is this a reality here?" And I said, "Yeah, that's how people are here." And it just kind of blew his mind a little bit, and he got used to it. But very quickly, he's like, "Yeah, this is a pretty cool place."
Yeah, I agree.
And it is.
Yeah,
it is.
I agree.
Nothing's perfect, but it is. It's got some really good things.
Right. One other piece too that maybe people do or don't know is any type of mergers, acquisitions, or even just revamping a current location or doing that. So you guys do a lot of back work or back behind the scenes. Like
Legacy is a great example of that, but it happens all the time. So you get a target like that. We're always looking for targets. Some of them you're meeting very organically just from people that our guys know. Some people come to us as maybe somebody's retiring or there's somebody who's getting older in that company, the owner, whatnot. Legacy, I'd kind of go back to that when all that was going on, those talks and that relationship were going on for years, and it finally got to the point where it's like, hey, do we go ahead and do this, So at that point, we start looking and say, hey, what's the value of this company that we're trying to buy? We do that with all of them. And what you do is you kind of recreate their balance sheets and their P&Ls, and you say, hey, what does their data look like? Some of it you have to estimate because you might not have perfect information, but you try to kind of layer that into a model and say, hey, what are their projected earnings kind of out in time, and what do we value that company at? And we did that with Legacy. We felt like we came up with a pretty good value. And with some things that kind of happened with that transaction, we found out because there was another party that had a right of first refusal there, and they actually exercised it. And we were able to talk to them, and with some different things in the background with like fuel deals and stuff with working with that company, they kind of backed off of that right of first refusal and allowed us to buy Legacy. But we knew with them doing that exercise and kind of going that path that we had a really good value on that business. And those businesses have done really good, those 2 retail stores here, and they're just going to continue to grow. Their gas, especially, is just gone gangbusters. So it's pretty cool to be involved in that.
They're great locations and put in really great spots, I think.
We knew we were in a good spot with the Nampa store because we were doing the changeover. We shut the store down physically. The gas pumps were still on. We were inside doing inventories, and those gas pumps just had cars consistent, like lined up. And we kept looking out there, and we were like, I think the site's going to do pretty well.
They get a good amount of traffic through there, which is very helpful.
With the lake being there and all the fishing and all that. Yeah, there's a lot of people rolling through there.
Yeah,
so that's an example. Well, we do that with all of them. We value it. First, you see, hey, does it fit within what we're trying to do, where we're trying to grow? And then what's the value that we're willing to pay for that? Sometimes you get a deal. Sometimes you're trying to do something very strategic. Maybe you'll pay a little bit more. Just depends on the circumstances.
Or sometimes it's growing a current location we already have, right? Maybe on the ag side, it's a bigger barn that we're looking to put in, or a bigger warehouse, right?
That's exactly right.
We put in a bigger warehouse in Paul, you know.
You do those the same way. Like how is that going to increase like our ability to serve the customers, to generate revenue, to maybe process things faster. Some of these barns, you got to get the mixers that can really have like a high rate of speed, especially if the competitor's coming in there. We've done some of that as well. But it all comes back to, hey, how do we serve that customer the best in those locations, and kind of upgrade our systems to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it's probably cool from your side too, because you get a look into a lot more than just financials, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of other pieces to that. You get to see and you get to do, and it changes up so it's not like a routine process, right?
That's the cool part. Is I feel like, what gets me excited too is I do so many things, like even on a daily basis. Like, it's so different. We're getting ready to go into budgets, which that's completely different. But then sometimes you're analyzing these deals. Sometimes I'm working on patronage calculations, which is very rewarding, because it's a lot of work, but you're giving money back to these farmer owners. And it's like, that's the coolest thing. Like, you work hard to do that no matter what it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then some of the other things too, it's just different things every day. There's a lot of people that'll come to me for help on spreadsheets. I'm like, yeah, let's sit down. I've had the fleet do that a couple of times, and we kind of design like a spreadsheet that will help them out. And, it's just to be, I like to be in that spot where you can just kind of help people, and then maybe teach them new things too that they can use in other things that they're doing as well.
Yeah, I know you've helped me a lot with the coding aspect.
We worked on. I remember that.
There's a lot of that stuff. So having your guys' knowledge is very helpful from an outsider from financial standpoint.
Sometimes it's just talking through something. Like a lot of times somebody will come through and I'll be like, hey, what is it that you really want? Like, what's the end product going to look like? Okay, let's try this. And then I'll try to teach them along the way. Some people don't really care as much. They don't want to learn Excel, whatever. That's fine. But I'll try to say, hey, well, you can do this, you can do that. And then some of those guys will kind of go off of that, and then they can use it in other ways. Because, there's simple things that have a lot of power in all directions. So, but yeah, it just feels good to get people kind of unstuck. I know if somebody comes to me, they're kind of stuck on something, whether it's big or small. So it's like, hey, man, let's get it done, get you unstuck. And it's a good feeling to be that kind of person that they're coming to. I love that part of my job. It keeps you busy. Yeah. But I love that part.
Well, you get to know people within the company. Yeah. That's kind of what the idea of this podcast is to get to know the different parts of the company that maybe not everybody has the opportunity to reach out and meet, right?
We went up to Washington last week. It was Brad, myself, Greg Learman, and several of the guys. We were with Kevin up there as well. And several of the guys, as we were traveling around, were like, hey, man, when you get back to the office, like maybe next week or in the next month, can we sit down and look at X or Y? Some of it was like looking at the financial statements. Some of it was related to the budget. So stuff like that when you're getting out there and they start getting like comfortable with you. And, I try to go out on audit trips a lot. I try to go on just random visits. We went out to Rexburg one time, a couple of us, and just kind of saw how they do their operation. And it just builds a lot of camaraderie that way. We were even helping unload a train out there because they were low on urea. So we were out there kind of helping the guys. And, I'd never done some of that stuff before. So it opened my eyes. And I was actually shocked at how much throughput they had at Rexburg. The trucks were just rolling through there like the whole time. Yeah. I was like, wow. It was during the busy season last year. And it just kind of blew my mind because I'm doing my numbers, but this is what it means like out there. And that's why I like to get out there. So you see like, what are those guys facing? Because that's where it happens, man. Right. We were in Washington. There were a couple of farmers that were in there, and you could just tell how like close they were to their supervisor or the manager, how much confidence they had. And just like, hey man, that's really cool. Let's do all we can from back here to make sure they can do that customer side. And then we can help a lot with the numbers. Right. So I tell guys, I say, hey man, I'll give you as much information as you want so you can do these things, but I can actually help you get there too, like if you need certain information. Right. Because I would rather them be taking care of the customer, driving the sales, all that sort of thing. Let us, like number guys back here, support you as much as we can. Right. So you do what you do best. We can kind of help do what we do best. And, but there's just different levels of how interested guys are getting into that. And every one of those is fine.
It's kind of very similar, honestly, with the marketing side, right? Yep. You have people that are a little bit more like, "Hey, I'm looking for your help. Can you help me do this?" Yeah. Or other people where they don't necessarily know they're looking for your help, but once you make that connection with them, they're like, "Oh, yeah, can you help me with this?
Yep.
And so making that connection with people inside the organization is very beneficial, not just for us, but for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you guys sound like the same exact thing, which is pretty helpful. So,
because when they get their support out there, whether it's helping them do it themselves or we help them do it, they can serve the customer better. They're going to be more happy. They're going to be feeling like they're more on top of things. And ultimately, that's what you want, like that customer's having that great experience. And everywhere we went, you could tell the customers are like really happy with what's going on out there. And that's just one region. I'm sure that's going on all over the place in our company.
Yeah, for sure. So on the ag side, obviously the ag's a little bit different than most of the industries out there, right? So, can you elaborate a little bit about like what that looks like from a financial standpoint versus like somebody that's a little bit different, right? You generally speaking, a lot more volume probably with different products and different things, and there's probably a lot of movement with that stuff. And
yeah, a couple things that come to mind. The first one is just how our company is run. The owners being the farmers and kind of driven by that versus some of these other big public companies. So that's a difference like right away. Some of the other things are the patronage that we give back. Those dollars going back to the farmers is just like a really cool concept, and I think something that makes us unique. And then the rebates around the crop protection that we sell, that really drives a lot of where we end up as far as like our bottom line profit in a year. And it can be a little bit hard to estimate some of that. You can have a single product that has like 10 different programs that it's in. So imagine the complexity in trying to kind of weed through that to get to what that final profit's going to be on that one product.
Yeah.
We have thousands of products,
Right.
So, and then the other thing that comes to mind too is when I first started, I started in May of, I think it was 19. And I look at our P&L, our performance for a month, and we're like, for year to date, like negative $5 million, profit. And I'm like, okay, what have I gotten into here? I didn't understand the seasonality yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense once you step back, but I didn't know. I mean, you talk about like March and April, you could sell 10, 12 times what you sell in like a December timeframe. So the seasonality is like dramatic, within ag. And we sell so many different types of products. So, what you're tracking and what we tried to provide out to the managers to be able to make pricing decisions, and we're still working on it, is, stuff that kind of has like, hey, here's the sales on that product. Here's the cost. Here's what we estimate the rebate will be to kind of get them back to a net. Because sometimes you might sell a CP product at a negative gross margin, but then you have all these rebates that'll come in, and now you're up to 15, 20, 25% margin on those at the end of the day. But having those detailed information to kind of get back to that is like critical in that's that specific space.
Yeah. I'm sure weather has a lot to do with it too. Like
weather, big time. We've seen that this year. We've seen that this year. The farmers have gone a lot quicker this year. It started to get rolling probably 2 or 3 weeks earlier than normal. So our sales like killed in March versus the plan. We're seeing some drawback on that in April. We still had a good month, but didn't quite hit what the plan was for that month. But we're still way ahead for the year. We're still waiting to see how does that play out, through the rest of the year. We're going to be looking at May and June specifically. Like, how does all that early activity does it trail off, or does it trail off kind of slow? How does that look? So we're
or does it extend out a little bit more, right?
We're starting to get into different geographies. So California has a different type of growing pattern than maybe Eastern Idaho, because they have a lot of different crops that they're putting, and they have multiple iterations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but, that's what we're looking at now. Like, how are the sales looking? How are the margins? There's a lot of focus by the management on margins all the time. And, that's part of what that plan is, that business plan is, by the product type, we have kind of like a target that we're shooting for. And I give Greg and others information, Greg Lehrman, all the time, the regional guys, like, hey, here's how we're doing. Here's the products that are below. And then they can kind of go and do the different adjustments. But they're looking at that stuff too all the time. We have a lot of Power BI reports we developed over the last year or so that the managers have wanted. We've worked hard with them to kind of get these reports out there, so they have the most real time information that we can give them. And you can never have real time enough. You always want to make that a little bit faster. But versus 2-3 years ago, we have such better information now than we did then, on every level, whether it's margins or OpEx or other income or whatever.
Right. And it's probably just going to get better and better as we go. So
that's our goal. And we work very collaborative with those guys. It's always the question of, what do you guys need to run the business? That's what we're here for, to help you guys run the business. That's, if you summed up my job in one sentence, how can I help the business run better? How can I help the customer get what they need better? And that's through the guys having information on, what people want, what's the right price to charge. You don't want to be charging $20 more than where you really should be, but you need that information to be able to make those informed decisions by product.
Yeah, for sure.
We're working hard to get that information, very accurate and timely.
Well, perfect. So we'll change pace a little bit here, and we're gonna mix it up. And I'm gonna just kind of give you a question: is if someone was to follow you around, or right. just something they maybe would notice throughout the day, what's something that they would maybe be surprised about you that they didn't know?
I would say probably, and my wife was teasing me about this just last night, in fact, I think it would be my music choices, or what music I listen to. I love music. I love any good music. Music is all the eye of the beholder, of course, but I listen to such a wide variety of things. I was listening to a bunch of Bob Dylan last night, who I love, and my wife is an artist, and she's like, "That's not good. I don't like that at all. I don't get it." And I'm like, "You're an artist. How do you not get one of the best artists ever?" So music is taste. I also love the blues a lot. Muddy Waters is my favorite, blues guy. But I listen to the Who, Eric Clapton, Johnny Cash. My kids think I'm crazy listening to Johnny Cash, but I love him. He's so distinctive. When you hear Johnny Cash, immediately that's Johnny Cash.
100%.
So I love those guys that are unique like that. And Dylan is unique like that.
Yeah.
His writing is unbelievable. But my wife, maybe legitimately so, thinks I'm crazy for liking Bob Dylan.
Did you watch the I think it was Netflix show? I
heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet. I got to check that out.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, his writing is just so, to me, just profound. He's kind of like a rapper, before rap was. If you watch the way, or look at the way he writes,
it flows,
the way his lyrics go. Yeah. So, but I would even listen to a little bit of rap music. The interesting thing about having kids is they'll kind of turn you on to their music. I've thankfully been able to turn them on to some good music, which is mine, right? Marvin Gaye, Al Green. They thought all that stuff. Oh, that's old man crazy music, and now I hear them playing it all the time. So I'm like, where's the old man? I don't see any old man in there. And they're just eating it up. So they've turned me on to stuff like Drake, who I don't even know is popular anymore. And the group called The Internet, which is really good. There's a guy, Steve Lacy, that kind of got big on his own after that, but it's really good. So it's just, such a wide variety of music, but I'll listen to anything that's, to me, it sounds good.
Yeah. I have a playlist going with my kids, and they'll put some music on there, and I'm like, let's see what you're listening to. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes I'm like, that's not the best. Let me show you some of my music that I grew up with. And then they end up listening to it, just like you were saying. It's kind of funny.
It's kind of a trade, man. It's just like anything. You just kind of mix things together. And, one thing my son likes is Steve. He likes Stevie Wonder a lot, which I always love Stevie Wonder too. So that's kind of one we had in common. But I still remember some of the stuff I'd listen to. They would just be laughing like, "What are you listening to there?" That's such old man music.
Yeah.
And I say, "Hey, you just wait. And I was right.
Yeah. The weirdest thing for me in that scope is them telling me that the music I listen to is now what they call classic.
Yeah, right.
Classic music. Right. I'm like, that's not classic music.
Yeah. So you and I are both classic.
Yeah,
then, right?
Yeah. So they look at it and they're like, that's old school. That's a classic music. I'm like, what? I'm not sure if I agree with that.
Exactly.
That's pretty funny. So, one thing too is you've had the opportunity to kind of leave and then come back, which we're grateful you came back, because now we get to enjoy your popcorn again.
Oh yeah. I'm sure it was worse during that year or so I was gone.
But I'm sure it opened up your scope of how maybe some other places do things versus the cooperative way of doing things, or how we do things here. I don't know if all cooperatives run the same way, but the community aspect here is a big part, which we kind of talked about a little bit, but just from somebody that's like gone and come back, was there any changes when you came back that you were like, hey, that's kind of a good change?
Yeah, I did leave for a brief time just for a personal reason that's not even worth delving into. But I was excited to come back. I kind of had the co-op like in my blood. I didn't realize just how much. I worked for a local home builder for just a little bit during that time off. But I was driving home from work one day, and out of the blue, Greg Mapes calls me on the phone. Now, I've known Greg for a while, and I'd consider him a friend. But Greg doesn't just call me like out of the blue. So I'm like, what is going on here? And we're chatting and stuff. And he's like, hey, what would you think about coming back? And I had it on my brain anyway. I actually had talked with Dave Holton probably 3 or 4 months before that, just on a random kind of talk there. And so I'd been thinking about it. I didn't know that was going to be coming. But when it did, I was like, oh yeah, this will be great, So, since I had worked in so many aspects of the financial side of our company, there was a couple guys that had gone out for like health related reasons, and some things has kind of switched around. And so I could come in and kind of fill a lot of those gaps. I was doing like a wide variety of things, not just like the FP&A stuff, but accounting and recons. And there was a bunch of stuff we were trying to shore up. So, that felt great coming back in. And my energy was like really high because I had missed it. Sometimes I'm a believer that, life has its ups and downs. And sometimes if you're in one of those things where you're missing things, I think missing things sometimes is really good for you because it gives you a whole new appreciation for the whole deal. And that's how I felt coming back. And, a couple of people I talked to like after the fact, they were like, yeah, man, when you came back, you were just like raring and ready to go. And I still kind of feel like that, like I wake up feeling very recharged, very blessed. I don't take it for granted. Humans can take things for granted pretty easy. Yeah. And that really was a whole nother level of me. Like, hey, don't take anything for granted. Your wife, your family, your health, who you work for. Because some of that goes hand in hand. If you're happy in your job, you're going to be happy like at your home as well. And, to get to come back here was a really cool thing. To know the management really wanted me back. And that was just cool. And there's been a number of people that have come back that I know, even in the office here. And I've talked to those guys, and every one of them is like, man, I'm so blessed to be back. And I know what they're talking about when they say that. Yeah.
I haven't left and come back, but I could definitely see that. Yeah. I've worked at a lot of different places throughout my career, and this is definitely one of the best ones to be at for me too.
I would say that too. Yeah. No, nothing is perfect, right? But man, there's a lot of good stuff going on here. And that's the main thing I think in this talk. Like, if I just think of one takeaway, it's like, how do we keep that specialness to the co-op? Like we just have a really special thing going on here. And the things that stick out to me are, just how we take care of each other. That kind of permeates all the way through. You got to be careful about who you hire the right people, but then just encouraging that collaboration. It seems so natural for us, but you can lose that pretty easy, especially as you get big. I have seen that happen where it's been really good. This was a public company that I was in, but it was small. It was growing. It was really good. And then it started becoming very, very corporate, and it really changed. And it wasn't such a great place. Yeah. What it was 5 years back was very different than what it was in that current day. So we got to guard against that for sure. You know, and I know Brad and I talk about that a lot. I know that's on top of his mind as well. And I know the board's thinking it, and we're all thinking it. We got to keep that special, like ingredient that we have.
That connection.
That separates us, yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna throw a surprise question. We're using some AI to generate these questions. So
great, I appreciate that, Mark. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. If your life had a budget forecast like your job, what's one category you always underestimate?
That's a good question. I would probably say chocolate, because I never can have enough chocolate in the house. Like, I'm always looking for chocolate, so I'm sure we bought some, so I must be going through it at a pretty good rate.
You need to add a chocolate budget.
Yeah, it would probably be chocolate chip cookies. My wife always makes some chocolate chocolate chip cookie balls and leaves them in the freezer. So almost every night. And actually, when I was up in Washington, she was eating through the supply, and I came home and there was only like 3 cookies left. So I said, "This is a problem.
We need to fix this."
That's right. I have to find somebody who can fix this. Yeah. Oh, I think I'm looking at her. And she's willing to do it.
Yeah, so, that's awesome. I think I have the same issue, but mine's more Snickers and Twix.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to full disclosure, the candy buckets up front, like Carol is very used to me coming up there and grabbing the peanut M&Ms. I always call them vitamins. So she's like, "Hey, are you looking for your vitamins?" And I'm like, yes, Dr. Carol, looking for the vitamins.
Makes you feel a lot better about eating them.
It's all in the marketing, right?
That's right. That's right. Before we wrap up, just one thing is kind of look into the future, right? What are you most excited about? It could be with the company or just you in general.
I think growth, like overall, like growth in the company. You know, I'm always trying to grow as a person. I do read a lot. You know, I'll read like leadership books and stuff like that, but just being part of the growth. Every company it seems like I've ever been with has been growth. So I like that. It gives you opportunity. You know, I'm looking for ways like how can I help to manage the company, even if it's like people. You know, we've been having some discussions about that. Maybe as we get bigger, you know, the FP&A, I can help manage that group. You know, it's all, you know, it's going to kind of work itself out as we go forward in time, but just challenging myself, like how can I help the company better? You know, the guys up front have a lot on their plates. How can we help to kind of take some of that off of them? And then personally, you know, just growing closer to my wife. We've been married 32 years, like I said earlier. So just continuing to, you know, like just improve that and, you know, just your faith walk as well. You know, it was funny on the trip with Brad and Greg, we were actually talking about faith a lot at night, which was kind of cool. And, you know, that's the kind of company that we work in. Like I know other places I've worked, you would never have that kind of discussion. So it's kind of cool. I was telling my wife on the phone, I'm like, you're not going to believe like what we were just talking about, you know, over dinner.
Yeah.
You know, and then some of it's just joking around and having fun and all that. But then, you know, some of it was pretty serious topics, which it's pretty cool to be hanging out with guys that are mature and you just feel like you can learn from. So, and that, I mean, that's professional. That's, you know, it's not like you're just one thing or the other. You know, you're a professional, but you're a family person and you're a dad and you're a husband. And so the more you can kind of integrate that all together is kind of cool. So, you know, just trying to improve in every way that I can, be a better teammate. You can never be good enough. You're just striving for the best that you can be. There's always, that's part of what we talked about. You know, humans are limited. You know, so let's try to be good to each other, take care of each other.
That's pretty awesome. So I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I mean, when your leader is saying stuff like that, and he's so humble, and Dave Holton was always that way too. You know, I mean, these are humble people, and the trust level just goes high when you're around people that are very trustworthy, and you just want to emulate that. You know, we all know we have weaknesses, but you know, you have to dive into those weak parts of yourself and just try to improve them and then play off your strengths. And, you know, it's just a cool environment to do all that. You know, I don't like here, some places you work, you kind of feel wore out from the day. Here, not that you don't feel wore out, but you just feel recharged coming back to it the next day. So, you don't feel like that's dominating your life. Like, cause I've worked in some environments that kind of have a bad culture and it can really kind of wear you down.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just glad we don't have that here. We have the opposite.
Yeah. Feel that support. That makes everybody want to work harder because you feel supported. So.
That's right. Very much.
That's
very
pretty
much.
Awesome.
I mean, you could reach out to anybody here. They'll help you out. There's nobody that I could call or go walk out to that wouldn't stop what they're doing. I'm the same way. Like you come to me, and that's just part of what's great about this place.
Right. I agree 100%. And with that, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us, Bobby.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it. And, you know, maybe down the road, we'll do another one, a round 2.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time with you, Mark. Thanks.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you, Bobby.